As you may know, the ESI Roundtable began as a locally based legal community service in Birmingham, Alabama in 2010. In 2012, the ESI Roundtable expanded its programs to other cities. When I told one of my Birmingham panelists about the expansion, he said, "Melissa, the ESI Roundtable is going to change the world. With that in mind, I want to share with you the newest statistics in the world of e-discovery. Today's program has generated over 540 registrants in 37 states of the United States of America, Alberta, Canada, British Columbia, Ontario, Canada, London, England, the United Kingdom, Mumbai, India, Noida, India, and Edinburgh, Scotland. Everyone on this webinar is a part of a group of paralegals who change the world today. You have power as a paralegal through e-discovery. My portion of this program is designed to help you master the overwhelming sources of information about e-discovery in an effort to help you self-educate. When I began to think of a theme I wanted to use to communicate my message today, I knew I wanted to make it fun. It's hard sometimes to keep everyone's attention during a presentation like today that is so deep, especially when, as we say in the South, you're bringing up the rear. So my first thought was to start with the EDRM model, which Tanzania has already covered. Okay, now the EDRM model has several stages. Then I thought, well, the zipline canopy tour has several stages too. E-discovery, zipline. Makes perfect sense to me. If any of you have ever seen the Geico commercial with Maxwell the pig on a zipline, then you know where this image comes from. You've got a guy on the left holding and hanging on for dear life, not really confident about what he's doing or where he's going. Then you've got Maxwell, who's not only confident, he's kicked back, got his feet in the air, pinwheels spinning, and as he passes Lefty, he looks at him and he says, "Pure adrenaline." Whee! So I ask you, when you're facing e-discovery, who do you want to be, Lefty or Maxwell? Folks, e-discovery should be your source of pure adrenaline. So strap in and let's go. The very first thing you need to know is the law. My apologies to our international brothers and sisters on the call. In Alabama, we think a foreign country means Florida. You need to understand the basics of both the federal rules regarding ESI and your local state's rules regarding ESI. You also need to know what the differences are. For instance, most states who have amended the rules don't require the meet and confer process, whereas in the federal court, the meet and confer is mandatory. As for your safety equipment, this is your second ground rule. Understand the EDRM model, all of its stages, and what each stage means to your individual case. Also, familiarize yourself with the Sedona Conference e-glossary and keep a file of it on record for reference. You can find a copy of that under resources on the ESI Roundtable website. Now that you have your building standards and safety equipment, you're ready to build the bridges to each stage of the next stages of your eZIP. Education, education, education. I cannot say it enough. If you're going to enhance your knowledge, make yourself more valuable in this industry, and even blaze new paths, you must stay on top of education. There are lots of educational resources out there. I recommend that you connect with neutral education sources, both at the national and local levels. National organizations tend to focus on federal e-discovery cases and trends. Local organizations are geared more towards state rules and create a community of networking that you're going to need on a day-to-day basis. Next slide. I'm way ahead. Let me go back up. As for hot topics, go back one more. There we go. Education and reading articles about recent case law will help you keep up with hot topics in e-discovery. Most hot topics in e-discovery tend to have an average lifespan similar to that of new technology, usually 1 year or less, before the next hot thing hits. However, there are some things that have staying power. Social media is an entirely new beast, and you should watch it closely. There are technologies and tools specific to social media discovery to help you harness it. Now for your landing. In order to land safely at each stage, you need to make sure that you have basic resources on hand. Legal hold letters, tracking charts, discovery definitions that include ESI, electronically stored information, as a definition, your discovery request, an IT questionnaire so that you as a legal community understand how to use the lingo and question folks who are in the IT world. And also, you might want to check out on the ESI Roundtable website, Judge Robert Vance of Jefferson County, Alabama, has a 20-point checklist meet and confer order that he has allowed us to publicly display on our website. Regardless of what court or what state you're in, going through a 20-point meet and confer checklist with parties on all sides of the case is a good idea if you're dealing with electronic information. And as for going the distance, you're going to need a few advanced resources too. When I thought of advanced resources, the only comparison to zipping that I could think of was the time that I saw a zip guide flip upside down, tuck herself in a ball, and travel backward to the next stage. The fact that I have video of my miserably failed attempt to mimic her acrobatics does not mean that anyone on this call will ever see it, not even on a podcast. If you're going to be able to properly investigate and defend the case, you'll need to add these advanced resources to your bag. Preservation, collection, review, and production tools, many of those that Tandalia spoke about earlier in her presentation. Chain of custody documentation, this is key to defensibility. Keeping up with case law, which LinkedIn, Twitter, places like that, you can keep up with the most current case law. Following blogs, a subpoena, and I know several attorneys that use subpoenas to get social media login credentials, access and records to social media, to do hardware searches. Also, you need to know how to depose an e-discovery witness. And again, that lends to the IP questionnaire that you should have in your basic resources. And I also want to highlight e-mediation. E-mediation is a relatively new and untapped resource to mitigate certain e-discovery issues in a cost-effective manner. If you'd like more information on e-mediation, you can contact me later and I'll make some recommendations. You also want to engage trained guides. As Tandalia explained, you need to be familiar with the technology tools available to you for each stage of the EDRM model. Review and production, electronic or otherwise, is generally where the most time is spent on a case. Know the platforms your firm has in-house and the platforms hosted by service providers. I've listed several considerations here that will help you determine which platform is best suited to your case needs, including volume, human resources, storage space, and functionality. Whatever you do, don't lose sight of the forest for the trees. In other words, don't get bogged down in the details of pricing structure and line items. Instead, keep your eyes on the total cost of the project. And finally, your group tour. Everyone likes friends, and we want to be your friends too. LinkedIn is probably the best and most comprehensive tool that I've seen to keep posted on e-discovery cases, trends, methodologies, and discussions. Join groups who focus on e-discovery, and like Ann said earlier, try to get involved in a few discussions, especially if you want to be recognized as a mover and a shaker. People need to know your name, your thoughts. And don't be afraid if you think you don't know enough. The majority of the folks in our communities are all in the same boat. And it's only been in 2013 that I've seen the trend where people are finally picking their heads up out of the sand and really beginning to take e-discovery seriously. Also, start following some folks on Twitter. If you type in @eDiscovery, it will pull up the top 10 list easily. Once you follow someone, turn the notification settings on to receive updates each time they post. You don't have to read everything. Just scan the titles of the articles, and if it sounds interesting or important, make time to read it. Most posts in this day and age only take 3 minutes or less to read. If you can't read it now, read it later. As a matter of fact, while I was preparing my presentation, I actually received a tweet that says, "Tweet is now a real word, and the Oxford English Dictionary says so."